Happy rainy day to you all. Thanks for commuting out even in the rain. I'm Latoya Strong. I'm the Director of Continuing Education here at Merritt Botanical Garden. And again, just want to thank you all for joining us today. We are in for an absolutely lovely presentation with Mary Jo Hopman as she walks us through her latest work. But before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that the Merritt Botanical Garden is located on the ancestral homeland of the Lenape Delaware people. We honor them, acknowledge them, and acknowledge their displacement, dispossession, and continued presence. In addition to today's lecture, we have several upcoming events that may be of interest to you. Our next round of classes for Plant Studio, our new flexible online program, begins on June 1st. So getting here on a specific day and time is a struggle for you, which it was not today. So you can dig into gardening, botany, floral design, landscape design, and more from the comfort of your own space. On June 8th, in conjunction with NYBG's new exhibit, and if you've been on the ground, you've seen us putting things up for Wonderland Curious Nature. We'll be hosting a symposium called Wonderland Curious Nature Symposium, which will explore the themes and concepts and alluring wonder of the English garden in 2 compelling sessions, featuring writer and historian Ambra Edwards and creator of the UK's Wildside, Keith Wiley. On June 13th, meet us back here in this very spot for the Tulip Garden by Polly Nicholson and conversation with Lindsay Taylor. Polly Nicholson is an organic flower grower, holder of the collection of tulips and owner of Grains and Flowers in Wiltshire, UK. Polly will be joined by Lindsay Taylor for a conversation exploring Nicholson's newly released book, The Tulip Garden, her passion for tulips and how she has nurtured what's grown into the largest private collection of historic varieties of tulips in the United Kingdom. Holly will also lead a workshop later in the day on planting seasonal bulbs. But let's turn our attention back to Mary Jo Hopman. Mary Jo Hopman is an aeronautical engineer turned artist, which I personally would love to hear more about that transition. I don't know about y'all, but I want to hear more about that. Since beginning her artistic practice and founding the blog Still, Mary Jo's work has been featured in Martha Stewart, Living in Better Homes and Gardens, among other publications. And she has she has collaborated with West Elm, Target, the United Nations Botanic Garden, and the Scottish National Opera. Also, I'd love to hear more about that. This morning, Mary Jo will take us on a journey with her new book, Still, The Art of the Odyssey, which is available in the lobby. This is a very healthy book, and the pages are all like absolutely generous. It's a generous, healthy book, these are my types of books, the coffee table. That's okay. Since 2012, Mary Jo has documented her discoveries in nature by taking photographs daily, which I think is a labor of love and art that she beautifully captures in the stunning photographs displayed in Still, in which we will get a glimpse of during this presentation. Still and Mary Jo's practice, the transformative practice of dailiness, invites us to slow down, to stop, be still, and observe nature. And not just the obvious, but the seemingly mundane. And not just to see those mundane things, but observe it and appreciate the beauty in all of it. And as caring for Mary Jo Hopman is not treated enough, following this presentation, some of you will get to experience a workshop which is sold out on flat lake composition, which Mary Jo will be facilitating. But first things first, please silence your phones and join me in welcoming our esteemed guest, Mary Jo Hopman.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is super exciting. If I know you by Instagram handle, please, when you introduce yourself after the talk, let me know, or when you ask questions, let me know your Instagram handle as well as your name. I'm going to go really fast. I have a lot of slides, and so it's meant to be a visual feast. Don't worry, just let it wash over you. And feel free to ask questions. This is very casual, very informal, and I invite questions, and there'll be a little time at the end for questions as well. So I'm going to get started here. I'm here as part of the book launch for this beautiful work of art. I have my 2 editors from my publisher over here from Fide and Monticelli. Best publishing experience ever. And so we're here to celebrate that, and I'll be signing books afterwards. First, a little bit about myself. So I've been doing, as mentioned, this 12-year project, 12 and a half years. It started January 1st, 2012, so 12 and a half years of photographing found nature on a very plain, very simple white background. One year I did a year of black. I think of the project in calendar years. Each year I re-up for a new calendar year, and it's been 12 and a half years, and I'll explain how that and why that happened. But the project itself is very simple. Found nature, minimally manipulated, so no man-made objects, no vases, no twine, no ribbon. Photographed in natural light, so no fancy studio, no light box. You'll see mostly on my kitchen floor. Usually on a white background, every now and then. For 1 year I did a black, and every day for 12 and a half years. As mentioned in the nice intro, I was for 20 years an aerospace research scientist. Loved that career. Coincidence of corporate takeovers and family planning, and I exited the workforce. Was heads down for a few years as a mother of two, and when the youngest went to grade school, then I wanted to start a creative practice, and that's when I conceived of and started Still. I think of those as 3 acts of my adult life: the becoming, the doing, and the being, and I'm currently in that 3rd act. I turned 60 in a couple weeks. So Still started because my 11-year-old daughter at the time, who's now 26, 12 years is a long time in a child's life. She bought a dog with her own money and then was in school, so the dog needed daily walking. I walked the dog. I picked up nature as I went. And so because that was part of my daily practice, then I conceived this one-a-day photo project. What happened is there was an online community of artists sharing work, and I was so inspired by that creative community, I wanted to participate. So I wanted to think of a project where I could participate in this online community. I like to say I wanted a seat at the table with those artists. But so I had to contribute something, and so I did Found Nature because of my situation. I live on 3 acres in suburban Minneapolis on a lake. This is my yard. And so it made sense that I would use Found Nature. It was what I had access to. And then I posted every day to a blog called Still, and I've been doing that every day since January 1st, 2012. There's a handful of us around the world, a couple hundred maybe, that start our morning every day pulling up Still. We make tea or coffee and we pull up Still, and so it's fun. Through the years, I had a lot of help. This is my son, who's now moving out of his dorm at NYU this weekend. So it quickly became a part of the success of the project as it became a family project, and it was part of the fun. It turned every day into a treasure hunt in a way for both myself and the kids. This is my daughter. She lives now in San Francisco and has a corporate job, helping me arrange. She's helping me arrange Lake Superior beach rocks, which are on the right. She went into design. It's no coincidence. Yeah. Here's my husband. He's right over here, Steve. He's got a book coming out in July, by the way, about our family's time in France, which is also one of the chapters of my book. I pull him in when I need either extra height. He's a lot taller than me, or like as in this composition on the floor of pressed leaves, or if I need what I call bovine patience, because he's very, very patient, much more patient than me. So if I have a composition that requires bovine patience, I call him in.
Hi, Stan.
The truth is he's a perfectionist and I'm not. That's that simple. Most of the time, it's me on my kitchen floor. This is my kitchen, as you can see, and this is where I photograph. You can see I have skylights there, and then windows on. So I have windows on 3 sides, and I've had 2 over the years of 12 years is a long time. I tried having 2 different studios, and I just keep coming back to my kitchen floor. It's the best light in the house, and so that's where I work. So usually it's just me on the kitchen floor, and I either shoot in what is called flat lay, which is, just tops down over the white paper. I shoot on a simple poster board, or in what I call softly lit back backlit, and I just use a diffuser in front of my window. It's very, very simple setup, very low tech. Matter of fact, when I teach photographers, I say, use the least amount of equipment you can get away with. And even this year, you can see when I have to pull in my husband for added height. So this year, I have that's a $100 tripod that I got 10 years ago. I wanted a bigger one for just this kind of photo, bigger, sturdier. I bought myself one at Christmas this year, and I don't use it. It's too much tripod. It's got too many knobs, too many levers. I can't stand it. I'm still using the 10-year-old $100 tripod. So I'm a big fan of just enough equipment and no more. That's just a little aside. So 12 years of daily photos ends up looking like this. It's over 4,000 photos. Later today, I will make my 4,518th consecutive photo. Sounds like craziness. It's not crazy. I'll explain why. Anyway, but I've also, one of the reasons why is the minimal to meet the project is my husband's wearing a black t-shirt right now, but I will probably at some point pick a leaf today and say, hold it in front of something white and make a photo, and then by definition, I've not broken the chain. So that's why it's not quite as crazy as it sounds. Over the years, as mentioned, I did a collaboration with Target where I put it on bedding. I did a collaboration with West Elm where they made these sort of, they printed the images on plexiglass, made like shadow boxes. It was really beautiful. I did not have help in the design. That was them. Mostly today, I sell my images to designers for large interior spaces. I was telling my publisher yesterday, not one of them has printed the images less than 60 inches wide for 2 or 3 years. Like everybody just, printing technology lets us print that big now, and that's the size we print at. And then on May 1st was my pub day for this gorgeous book that you'll get to see afterwards, and I'll be available to sign. So here we are at the New York Botanical Garden. The New York Botanical Garden, you know, in some ways is not dissimilar than this in that it can be overwhelming. The amount of the beauty to take in, the amount of nature to take in can be visually overwhelming. This is a picture from off the internet from the garden. So where do you start? So the mind has responded to visual overwhelm by shutting down. So we tune out, we shut down. That's how we respond to visual overwhelm. In 4,517 days of consecutive image making, I have learned a few tricks to override this. I've referred to these tricks as see-re-see, and it's a form of conditional thinking, which I don't have time to go into now. But I've had to walk the same 5 trails every day with my puggle. So instead, at some point after a year or 2 into the project, I had exhausted the obvious. The cattails, the milkweed where I live, the acorns, the maple leaves in fall. I had exhausted the obvious, and I had to decide, am I gonna go broader? Am I gonna start like going to the desert for a month, going to the coast for a month, and go broader to widen my subjects? But I decided out of necessity and desire and curiosity to go deeper. And one of the ways I could go deeper is to start to see those same 5 trails I walk the dog on, to see them anew and see the subjects anew. And I came up with a bunch of tricks to help me do that. One of them is this idea of conditional thinking, where you ask, instead of what is it, you ask what it could be. And it's led to this series. This is new work. It's actually not in the book. Putting the book together helped me conceptualize this work. But it's a collection of work I call see-re-see. So you see the fall colors, and I re-see them as a gradient of color. You see the maple seeds. You see argyle. So I'm going to go through these real quick. It's just a visual warm-up. It's see-re-see, pressed leaves, bur oak acorns, evergreens from the front yard, turned into snowflakes with the scissors. So I do allow myself to crush, fold, and cut, but no man-made objects in my photos. It's just one of my constraints. Staghorn sumac in autumn. They look like paint pigments to me. Mediterranean clams called palourde from southern France. It was actually our dinner that night of spaghetti and clams. I said, honey, he's the cook over there. I said, don't throw those away. It'll be tomorrow's still blog. So, and then while I was arranging them, the sun came out and made butterflies out of them. Daffodils. These are cattail leaves. We live on a lake and we have about 300 feet, about 100 yards of cattails between us and the actual water. Firebush, I think they call it. This happened to be in the shade, so usually it's a brilliant bright red, but it was growing in the shade, so they were all pale yellow or pale pink. Ash tree seeds. Paper wasp. When I put them side by side, that's a giveaway, but when I put just the images on the left or on the right on Instagram and asked people what it was, nobody guessed paper wasp paper. And everybody thought it was felt or stone, or a lot of people thought it was a textile, felt. It's pretty interesting. Striped rocks from the Mediterranean. White pine. Just some fall leaves. Olive leaves. Cattails. You're going to see a lot of cattails. I have a lot of cattails. Pine needles. And you can see I like gradients. So I have a style. I have a very specific style, and there's certain things I like. These are acorn caps. This is the underside of the acorn cap. And people never look at it, and I didn't, honestly, quite frankly, didn't know they were that colorful myself. That one I shot, actually, it's the same image. It was arranged, composition was on glass, and I got underneath it and shot up through it. So it's the exact same image. This is wild rice. Rhubarb, tartan plaid, carrots. So that's our little warm up. That's, I like to find ordinary things. The more ordinary it is, and the more I can help people re-see it anew with fresh eyes and, fresh appreciation, the more fun it is for me. Like that's a good day. If the more ordinary the subject, the bigger the challenge, and the more fun I have coming up with a composition. So what has been the biggest lesson of this strange, obsessive 12-year project is the biggest lesson. There's been several profound insights. Today I'm going to talk about the transformative power of dailiness. It's one of the essays in the book. I like to tell this story. So Jerry Seinfeld is a famous story. You can Google it. He was asked by a young comedian at some event a while ago, Jerry, what's your advice for a young comedian? And Jerry Seinfeld said, here's what you do. You get yourself one of those big wall calendars, put it on the wall, and every day you write down one joke and you put an X on it, and then you never break the chain. That's the story. And I love that story because it's what I've been doing, but I haven't broken the chain. And we'll talk about why that is important. But I also like the fact that he didn't say write down one good joke. He didn't say write down one killer joke or write down one original joke. He said just write down one joke and don't break the chain. And I love that because you'll see why that's important. Dailiness is what I call radical incrementalism. And so there's a lot of reasons. These are why I think it's so powerful. It's this simple idea that's super powerful. And it's very popular. It's very common. People have been doing it for a long time. And with social media and sharing, it got new life. And people do it with diets. I mean, people do it with all sorts of stuff. But if you have creative ambitions, no matter what they are, music, visual arts, whatever, think about doing one of these very simple one-a-day challenges. And I think the 30-day challenges are too short, so I would start with a 90-day or 100-day challenge. And the other thing is, if you get started and it's not give yourself permission to quit and change it. I almost did a collage a day before I did Found Nature. And I was a photographer, and I had this dog I needed to walk, and I lived in a natural setting. So I put those pieces together and did Found Nature in a minimalist style on my kitchen floor. But I almost started the project because I just wanted to participate in this online community. I almost started with a collage a day because I also like doing collage. So, and I can almost guarantee you I wouldn't be still doing that 12 and a half years later. So give yourself permission. If you get started, you pick something too complicated or it's not a right fit, to switch gears. So dailiness, why I think it's so simple and so profound. It overrides perfectionism because you have that, and this is a big help for a lot of people. Because you have that daily deadline, in my case, the sun setting, because I use natural light. There are days when in Minnesota, the sun sets at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, I get till 9:30 at night in the summertime, but that's, you know, the sun is setting and I'm like, I say, oh my God, I haven't done still. And my husband goes, every day, every day. He just, yeah. And so here's an example where I just run out of the house, grab a handful of grass, put it on the white background, make a photo. That checks the box because not breaking the chain is more important than the quality of the photo. This is a day when I had, you know, on the right there, I had 2 hours to play. I still have to work fast because all those little tendrils and everything like to wilt. So I still have to work fast, but I had 2 hours. And so I had time to play. But both of those were one day in 4,500 images. Again, because of that daily deadline, it shuts down the inner critic. You know, I had to get creative. I have to make another photo. I've been doing this for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I've photographed cattails 10 times now. I've photographed maple leaves 10 times. What am I going to do? Sitting on the deck, sun is setting. The light catches on the cobwebs under the deck railings. And in the cobwebs are all these dead daddy longlegs. I thought they were graphic and interesting. That, you know, I would have never really believed anyone wanted to see a picture of dead daddy longlegs, but it's interesting, right? And then an Italian magazine published it. So like, exactly, you never know, and it shuts down that. I would have never done it if I didn't have the daily deadline. It snaps you out of autopilot every trip to the grocery store now, instead of just being in my own head, driving those same roads I do 3 times a week. Now I'm scanning the roadsides, looking for what's happening, what's just finished, what's coming, and it really snaps you out of autopilot. It lowers the stakes. Again, that daily deadline, the daddy longlegs is another example. There are days that just get busy and they get away from you, and it's going to happen. And so my specimens, typically I bring them in, I photograph them, they go right back outside. Otherwise, I'd be drowning. But every now and then, if I like it, or I think it might dry in an interesting way, it stays. And so I have like a specimen table. It's actually the dining room table. It's the dining room table. It's my specimen table. Anyway, so, you know, in a day that gets away from you, sun is setting, I can just sweep the debris off the specimen table, and that's the photo for the day. So it lowers the stakes. That keeps me from breaking the chain. Dailiness is the easiest and the hardest thing. Everybody can do it. Almost nobody does. Dailiness is, okay, so this is the secret of dailiness. It makes the process more important than the results. And that's why, so it makes, you commit to not breaking the chain. And that's why it shuts down perfectionism. It shuts down your inner critic. Because you haven't committed to making art every day. That's too hard. Nobody can do that. All you're committing to is not breaking the chain. And the minimum to not break the chain can be a handful of grass from the front yard on a white background. So that's the power of dailiness, is you commit to the process, and the process makes the art. And I guarantee you, the process will make the art. It's a leap of faith, but I guarantee you it will happen. You commit to the process, and the process makes the art. So dailiness is a sneaky superpower. Another way of saying that is small is incrementally big. The commitment to noticing one ordinary natural subject every day had a very simple rule as its engine, don't break the chain. But my daily practice was in fact leading me somewhere profound. Led me to several profound insights. One of them, and it's the biggest section in this book, is this idea called 72 microseasons. The attentiveness required to find a new subject every single day led to an intimacy with the seasonal unfoldings that I would eventually learn was shared by many ancient civilizations, in particular the concept of 72 microseasons practiced in Japan during the Heian period 1200 years ago. So the discovery of this, when I discovered this in an obscure little design book about 4 or 5 years ago, I nearly jumped out of my skin. I squealed because I had on my own come to the same conclusion out of necessity. And what happened is, I don't work ahead. And the reason I don't work ahead is the same way that like somebody practicing for a marathon doesn't run ahead. You don't like get all your miles in a month before the race and then rest. It's easier to just do it every day than to do a burst of 5 days and then be off and then have to restart. I found it just easier. Just make a photo every day. It's like brushing your teeth. That became easier. So I don't work ahead. But in order to like not get caught, I carry 2 or 3 ideas in my head. So, okay, the pussy with spring, the pussy willow just burst. So I had to learn, especially because March is really hard in Minnesota. Okay, in about 5 days, I started to learn after years of doing this, after the pussy willow goes, the maple trees will blossom. After the maple trees go, then the forsythia will go. After the forsythia, then I can expect to start seeing crocuses. So there was a seasonal unfolding that was happening that I learned simply to make my daily subject finding easier. But it was also creating this very detailed map of my bioregion. Like one thing led to another, and I was learning I could anticipate the seasonal unfoldings in almost daily increments. So 72 microseasons, practiced by the Japanese, created by the Chinese, refined by the Japanese 1,200 years ago. They lived by it for about 500 years. It's a seasonal calendar. The calendar we live by today is astronomical. This is a seasonal unfolding of the seasons. Here in New York, you're at the same latitude as we are. You're actually not quite, because of your maritime influence, the same bioregion, but the Great Lakes North goes what I consider from Minnesota to Maine, and it's the northern part from Minnesota to Maine, all along the Great Lakes. It's northern hardwood forest, and so here in New York, it's very, very similar. You just have a little bit more mild. It's a little bit milder than it is in Minnesota because of the water. I'm going to go through. So this was one of my insights. I arrived at it out of necessity of having to find a subject every day, and then I found out that the Japanese had done it, and it's beautiful. If you just Google 72 microseasons and read the Japanese version of it, it's poetry. And I tried to do that for our bioregion. And I say ours because northern New York is part of the same bioregion. I'm going to go through the 72 microseasons. I'm going to go really fast and just let it wash over you. So you're going to sweep through a seasonal year. I start in late February, which is to honor the Japanese calendar. It's spring in late February in Japan. It is not spring in Minnesota. So we start with, we're past the winter solstice, so the sun is starting to return. So we do have the long shadows on the ice. I'm going to read these, and because I can't read them here on the computer, I'm going to read these titles of the microseasons as we go. Just let it sweep over you. Time of awakening, bright sun, long shadows. Red osier dogwood stems turn scarlet. Waxwings get drunk on fermented apples. Time of thaw, tingling of melting snow. Herons land on icy shores. Pussy willow softly explodes. So now we're into mid-March. Time of sap, leaf buds swell under running sap. Sparrows return. Bulb shoots climb through soil. Time of rain. Lakes swallow last winter ice. Birch catkins dangle from branches. Mallards dabble near shore. Time of birth, frogs call for mates. Leaves burst from buds. Robins start to sing. Time of blossoms. What's the date today? We're not there. Nope, the next one. Time of blossoms. Elm samaras crunch like snow peas. Ferns unfurl like scrolls. Apple blossoms profuse. Time of greening. Oh, this was our micro season. So here we are. We're in time of blossoms, and sure enough, you guys are you're blossoming here in New York as well as we are in Minneapolis. Time of greening. Lilacs perfume the air. Spruce tips sprout green tassels. Thunder rumbles in the distance. Time of growth. Milkweed pods swell. Summer's green curtain descends. Fireflies wink after sunset. Time of light. Meadows turn bright with wildflowers. Now in high summer, July, late July. Musk thistle nods on hillsides. Dragonflies patrol the marshes. Time of heat. Painted turtles bask on logs. Blueberries fatten. Cricket choruses throb at twilight. Time of indolence. It's hot and humid. Nothing's moving. Bass fit in the shadows of lily pads. Lazy breezes sweep over cattails. Queen Anne's lace bobs on roadsides. Time of ripening. We're now in second week of August. Air hangs heavy and hot. Flower heads turn to seed heads. Blue jays molt. I'm gonna come over here. I'm having a hard time seeing. Usually I can see them, and I don't want to touch. It's not my computer. I don't want to. Prairie grasses bow to the weight of seeds. It's time of tall grasses, so we're now in the end of August. Bumblebees sip from coneflowers. Acorns bounce off rooftops. Time of color. Green apples blush red. Morning dew glistens. Sumacs burst into flame. Time of harvest. Wild rice scatters in canoe bottoms. Smell of wood smoke and fallen leaves. Squirrels cache nuts. Time of migration. Sunflowers wilt and die. Colors drain from leaves. Wood ducks binge on acorn mast. Time of frost. We're now late October. Time of frost. Morning frost nips. Leaves let go. Lichens on bare branches. Time of gray skies. Time of gray skies. Bucks chase does. Goose draw V's across the sky. Clouds drift over frozen ponds. Time of snow. Barred owls call into the night. Snow that lasts till spring. Black branches against white skies. Time of ice. Fish swim below the ice. Prairie stems poke through snow. Woodpeckers hammer for grubs. Time of darkness. Winter solstice. Darkness falls early. Lakes boom with expansion cracks. It's a very Minnesota thing. Turkeys snack on seed heads. Time of stillness. And we're into January. Cattails bend to the weight of snow. Nightwood striped with moon shadows. Ice crystals grow on window panes. Time of bitter wind. So the coldest 5 days of the year historically in Minnesota is late January. Time of bitter wind. Bitter wind whips across frozen lakes. Oak leaves rattle in the wind. Trees pop from freezing sap. Time of hunger. Coyotes hunt the marshes. Rime ice sugarcoats everything. Dry snow squeaks underfoot. That's the 72 microseasons of my bioregion. Thank you. So what I want, the reason I want, well, I think it's beautiful. I love this idea, but I want to, I mapped my bioregion, and I want you to think about, what it would take to do that for yourself and to be that intimate with your place, so that you could anticipate the seasonal unfoldings and that kind of intimacy. It's a really, really fabulous way to live. I always loved Minnesota. I always loved nature, but it's a whole nother level of commitment and appreciation. So daily, this is a commitment, but the rewards are guaranteed. The biggest of these rewards is living in a heightened state of attentiveness, and this is what I talked about, is that that's the reason I haven't quit in 12 and a half years, is to live in this state of attentiveness. Means that for at least 10 minutes a day, I have to be present in my environment. I have to be entirely present. So this became essentially a mindfulness practice. I'm not the first artist to come to this conclusion. Matter of fact, every artist who's ever published on the creative process comes to the same conclusion. Robert Henry is a famous American painter who's better known for his writing on the creative process. He talks about the object isn't to make art, it is to be in that wonderful state that makes art inevitable. Again, it's about, the reason I haven't quit in 12 and a half years is not because I need more photos of cattails or fiddlehead ferns, it's because I love living in this state of attentiveness. Rick Rubin's my current favorite writer, contemporary writer on the creative process. He has a beautiful new book out. I highly recommend it. He says the exact same thing. We tend to think of the artist's work as the output. The real work of the artist is a way of being in the world. So everybody's coming to the same conclusions. So here we are back at the New York Botanical Gardens. I just wanted a full screen thing. I doubled that up. Overwhelming, visual overwhelm. Where do we start? I give you permission to slow down, to look at one overlooked detail, look at one thing, one tulip. If you're feeling overwhelmed when you go back out there, relax into that heightened state of awareness. Let questions occur to you. Like, why did that petal get caught? Does that happen all the time? Not, just be present with one small detail for a few minutes. Ask, what could this be? And try doing this once a day. So I think to notice is to honor, and to notice is to care, to notice is to begin to tell a story. Tell a story is how we begin to turn strangers into friends. That's my talk. I'll be signing my book afterwards. I do have a blog where I post. Mostly I think of it as an archive, but there is a community of us that meets there every morning for coffee. I post one image a day, and then 2 or 3 times a week, as much as I can do it, I post to Instagram. And those are the only 2 places you can find me, on the blog or on Instagram. One last announcement. 92nd Street Y, I've been doing a lecture series, a 3-part lecture series with them. I've done 2 of them. I have the 3rd one on Friday morning. They're recorded. You can download them. You can pay to download them at any time. They're 1-hour lectures, sessions they call them. This talk is mostly the first talk, so it's this talk in much more detail. Not in a how-to way. These aren't how-to lectures, more in a philosophical way. The 3rd talk I'm doing Friday is my most ambitious talk. I've never talked about it. It's called Living as a Total Work of Art. It's about my personal feelings about a fully integrated creative life. I'm extremely nervous about it, but anyway, I just want you to know it's there, and if you can download them. It's just, you don't have to be a member to download the classes, but you do have to pay. That's it. Thank you. We have questions. Let's do questions. I love questions.
I think one of the most profound things in this book is when you talk about its unstated cost. Yes, in art. Yes, because I followed you for years and years, and so I never thought. I always wanted to do this. I lived in the desert, playing up stuff every morning. But I thought, when I would just be comforted and to read now, I just felt like it finally gave me permission.
Yeah, just do it. Yep, yeah. Because I really feel like go ahead, because I feel like eventually, like you'll take it in your own direction, right? But start, and even if you do it for like 3 years, you know what I mean? Just give yourself permission to get started, and then your own influences will come in. I mean, my style is very specific. I live in the North. I have a Scandinavian house. It's black on the outside, all white on the inside. That's why I chose the white background. I use my floors and my walls as my background when I need to. So that style was born out of the constraints of my environment. And so eventually, even if you start with copying me, you will take it in your own direction, Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. Any other questions?
How many pictures do you take a day?
Oh, that's a good question. So usually, okay, when I hit the shutter, because you do it on the back of the camera now instead of with the thing, and you can select where on the LED you want it to focus. So I shoot in aperture preferred. I make my composition. I photograph it. I usually hit it about 20 times. I'm in aperture preferred and then f/22. So I started at f/8, went to 11, and I don't know why, I just like f/22. It's just my style. By having the shutter open that long, because I'm a flat lay, I'm not going for extra depth of field. It actually weirdly softens this high-res, fully focused image, but it softens it. But anyway, I do f/22, aperture prefer. I ended up, when I download it into my iMac, there's usually about 20 of them. I usually edit 2, 3, 4, 5 versions, and then I'll say, hey, hun, come look at these. Which one do you like the best? And so I usually edit down to about 4, and then I post 1. So I've posted 4,500 images, but my archive's actually 20,000 images. It's kind of unmanageable.
But it's one composition that you're just taking different pictures of?
Well, sometimes if I'm doing a flat lay, there's not much you can do, because I've tried shooting at like 45-degree angles. It's not my style. I'm just either doing flat lay or I'm usually doing profile. If I'm doing it in profile, then I'm moving all over, trying to get when I'm shooting with a diffuser, the subject, and then me shooting, then I'm moving all around the subject. So that's why I often edit 4 or 5 images, but I post 1 a day.
Do you ever take the camera with you on your walks?
No, and I don't, well, I do, to get like the frost, I can't do that in the kitchen. That frost melts the instant. So I have to go out and do it. What I've learned is wind. And so there's a reason I use my kitchen floor for these compositions. I mean, I often have to hold my breath while I'm making them, because if there's any wind at all, it doesn't work. So the only time I go outside is in winter when in Minnesota. I mean, I get white sky background. Say is a great day. I get white sky backgrounds or snow as my white background. So all those winter stems were shot outdoors using snow as the white background. That's the only time I go outside because of the wind.
But you don't take your camera with you on your walks?
No, because I have the dog. I have the dog. I mean, this project started because of the dog. I have the dog. People think I carry a cute gathering basket because every time I'm in a magazine, they have me with the gathering basket. I don't walk with the gathering basket. I do really like coffee, and so a lot of times I have an empty Starbucks cup that stuff gets put in, But usually it's a handful of something. And if it requires more than that, then I'll drive back and put it in the back of the car and get it. But I've been known to lug big things out of 3 miles on a trail, too. But no, it's not, it's just me and the dog and a handful of something. And my style, because I don't have I'm shooting mostly on poster board. You can see I sometimes lay out multiple poster boards to make a composition, but I'm limited by scale too. So, I've decided to narrow my focus and go deeper and deeper into my very specific, all these photos were made 3 miles from my house. So my very specific bioregion, but I also decided to limit scale because I wanted to do it every day. And if I made it any harder than that, I wouldn't be able to. So again, just enough to be able to do what I wanted to creatively and no more.
Hi, thank you so much. I work here. I am an assistant director in the herbarium. I take care of the fungal, but I like these mimosas. And I've been hearing I've noticed it myself with my kids, and I've been hearing from other mycologists in the stamp that we're not seeing macrofungi popping out. And we should be, this cinder and waste. And that feels kind of like alarming, like what's going on. But without a daily practice, I don't actually know. Interesting. Like, right. Like it feels like, this feels like a shift. But maybe if I've had a daily, maybe it's not. But I was curious if 12 years has been enough time for you to see shifts in things with climate change.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. So, yes, kind of. So last year, I just did a very detailed, very thoughtful, you guys should see the amount of work that went into coming up with those 72 microseasons. I put a stake in the ground. I said, this is the 72 microseasons of my bioregion based on daily 12 years of phenology, of daily observation. Last year in Minnesota, we had no snow. We had no snow. I mean, it's crazy, right? So it was a fundamental change. I think next year we'll have snow and it will arrive in November and it will go back to normal. So what I can say is, yes, I have. I'm reluctant to draw any profound conclusions, partly because where Minnesota is located, and you guys are different, you have a little bit more stable climate here because we're dead smack in the middle of the North American continent. We have huge variability year to year. And so if I have 12 years of when the pussy willow bursts, which is my beginning of spring, there's 3 weeks of that can vary 3 weeks in any direction year to year. So which is, you might say, well, then how could you do this? But once it bursts, it unfolds. It's always maple blossoms next. You know what I mean? It will once it does decide to go, the dominoes always fall in the same direction every year. So anyways, because of Minnesota being landlocked and huge variability, I have seen changes. I mean, last year was so crazy to have no snow in Minnesota, which is very dangerous for us. The animals are dependent on it. It's how they get out of the cold, is to bury themselves under the snow. So anyway, I have, but I don't want to make claims.
I'm interested in your dailiness concept. And recently, there's been a thing like Marcus Crowther, and he had to be about the Irish sweat.
Oh, I love it.
And the daily jottings have had a tremendous effect. It momentarily, anyway, because I've only been doing it a month. But it's interesting.
The morning pages? Yeah. Yes, super profound. He's talking about the artist's way. I think everyone who's had a creative ambitions is familiar with that book. Did I interrupt you? No. Yeah, and I highly recommend it if you want to do it. And she has you do a daily practice of morning pages where you free write for 3 pages and then either throw it away or lock it in a drawer. And it's everyone who's done it has, and I put it down and pick it up about once every 3 years. Super profound. It's considered the classic book on the creative process, bar none. Rick Rubin's might be second now, but that's considered the classic book, the artist's way. Yeah.
Do you ever use a cell phone?
I do, and this can be done on a cell phone. So when I started 12 years ago, cell phone technology wasn't good enough. I don't very often, but I do if I have to, and like I'm traveling, so I will have to today. I do have my camera here because I'm teaching the workshop later, but I will take a photo, and you can just using the free online photo apps. You can get, matter of fact, when I do the photography workshop, I show, examples of that done with a DSLR and that done with an iPhone. If all you wanted to do is share to Instagram or social media or Facebook, iPhone, I would, because of just enough equipment and no more, I would say do an iPhone. Because my images are being blowing up to 60 inches, the iPhone's still not quite there, although it's getting really close. It's barely not there. Yeah.
I'm curious, are you also a gardener, and do you ever grow things that you want to use in your art?
So that's a great question. I won't say I'm a gardener. My husband's gotten into gardening in just the last couple years. We live on 3 acres. It's so wooded and it's so full of shade, and I can't bear to cut down trees to make a sunny patch. So what Steve has gotten into is he's turning our woods into northern permaculture with an emphasis on edible foods. So it's very limited, and I'll photograph the gooseberries because their gooseberries are beautiful, but I'm not photographing things for me. Anyways, in order to keep myself intellectually stimulated, the way I took this was more and more towards native plants. I'm not a native purist, although I'm kind of getting there. In order to have the animals, you have to have the native plants, and so that's what excites me, is when I find the native wildflowers, the native spring ephemerals, that kind of thing is what excites me. Like, again, the more ordinary, and if I can elevate it into something compelling, that's a fun challenge for me.
Hi, I have a similar practice called Dog Walk Diaries.
Oh, nice to meet you. If you guys don't follow her on Instagram, she's even better than I am, quite frankly. And she's in your neighborhood. So yes, she is. Yeah. You want to teach the workshop? I'll take your workshop.
No, I really love what you do. One of the reasons I started is that I'm a collector, and it was a way to collect things and make something with them and then cast them to the wind. But I find myself increasingly pressing leaves and holding on to them when our house is built. So I'm wondering if you press leaves too, and I just use books.
Yeah, that picture that picture you saw of Steve on the kitchen counter was pressed leaves laid out in a gradient. And those are just in books. Again, nothing special. No, I do have a couple plant presses, but they're this big, and so a lot of the leaves are bigger than that. So I just use books or newspaper piled with books over them. Nothing fancy at all. I collect. So what do I collect? Most of it goes outside. I happen to live in this very natural environment, so I don't have a scarcity mindset, so I don't mind letting things go back out. They come in, I photograph them, they go back out. But I do have collections like everybody. I have beach rocks, I have sea glass, I have bones because people give them to me. I have collection of found bones, and I have Minnesota bones like beaver skulls, and my favorite bone is the snapping turtle skull that's on the cover of the book. By the way, that composition on the book, I wish my son had made it. He actually made that composition. He was like 14, and I had the specimen table, the dining room table, and it was full of stuff. And I said, Joe, come, I have to do this every day. Help me make a composition. And 9 out of 10 times he would walk away, right? He's a teenage boy. So one day he stopped and he just walked around the table. He picked those items and he said, put them on the white paper, and he said, there you go. And I looked at him, and tonally the color works, right? Because if he'd used like a fire engine red sumac leaf, it wouldn't work, right? And I went, how did you do that? What'd you pick? And he goes, I just picked the most interesting things, and walked away. He's like, that's it, and walked away. And I looked at him, and he did. He picked some of the most interesting shapes, structure, and he has my favorite snapping turtle skull in there. So I collect skull. I have a collection of pine cones, but I'll probably get rid of that because it's too big, actually. And I did a commission for a restaurant that they wanted pine cones. So So I make collections and then I get rid of them. Otherwise, I would drown. But yes, I could make my house into like a cabinet of curiosities. Remember those? I could go there, but I'm a minimalist, so I don't. So it comes in, I photograph it, it goes out. More questions?
Hi. Were there times that you wanted to quit, and how did you not quit?
Really good question. I never wanted to quit. So this became what I talk about as a mindfulness practice. And when I give this the 92nd Street Walk, I talk about this insight of placefulness, which led to the 72 microseasons. These are really powerful ways of being in the world that I found just too life enhancing to stop. So I never wanted to quit. I have wanted to evolve it. My youngest is a freshman in college here. Our sophomore, he's ending his sophomore year. So, but for the last 2 years, I've been writing a book. So my point is I have suddenly more free time. So I'm an empty nester, but that space was filled with a book. But now the book's in the world. So again, I'm back to the threshold there of having more free time. I'm trying to decide whether I evolve still into something else or I keep doing it because I really love it. It's my mindfulness practice. It's like my daily yoga is really what it is. I walk the dog. I do this creative challenge. And or if I want to add, or if I want to do a completely separate new creative practice, because I have time. I'm going to have more time than I've had. So I'm either going to do two things, or I'm going to evolve still somehow. I haven't decided, but I'm on a threshold right now.
So, did you ever miss being an engineer? And what kept you from the engineering side in original artwork?
Oh yeah, good question. People are fascinated by that, aerospace engineer to artist. It wasn't as fascinating. I was never curled up on the bathroom floor like Elizabeth Gilbert or anything like that. It was a very natural evolution. I always had creative ambitions, but I put myself through college, had to be practical, had student loans, had to get a practical thing. I happened to be really good at applied mathematics, like spiky good, one of those weird talents that nobody in the family knows where it came from. Truly, it's so good I got a full scholarship to Stanford for graduate school. And so I just went into the field, professional field that used the most mathematics, right? Other than doing applied mathematics research. So, which is aerospace engineering. Because if you think about things tumbling through space, it's all mathematics, right? Or fluid flow through a nozzle or aerodynamics, it's all mathematics. So I went into the field that had the most math. It wasn't a calling, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. People enjoy doing things they're good at. I really did love it. I did it for 20 years, and then my beloved company got acquired by one I didn't like so much. I won't mention the name of it because it was an East Coast company, not far from here, and I really didn't like them. And so it was coincided with us trying to have kids. So I just switched roles. And so then, but I'd always had creative ambitions as a kid. I think if I'd had more margin in my life as a college student, I would have probably gone into a creative field. I just didn't have that margin as a young person. But you can see my compositions, tessellations. I like Fibonacci series. I love Fibonacci series, which is, very geometric. Yeah, very geometric. And I love it. I love that. And so when I make a composition, it's often to emphasize the mathematics of it. So it's just what I like. It's just my personal style. Yeah. Any more questions? Steve Hoffman. That's my hubby. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Just one thing, I think the nomenclature of secting code is really interesting. I mean, you skip that.
Oh yeah.
It might be worth just a really quick summary of what those were and how you adapted down to yours.
You want to come up and do it? No. So I did, because I was concerned about time because the staff here commented that I turned in a 200 slide pitch PowerPoint deck. So I was racing a little bit to get through the 72 microseasons. So in the Japanese 72 microseasons, which I adopted out of respect, it's there's 24 seasons and 72 microseasons. And so the seasons, we have 12 months, so they're half a month, you know. So there's each, and then they use the words seki and ko, which I use in the book. So there's a gatefold. I can never remember that word. I'm looking at my publisher. There's a gatefold in the book that has the full summary of the 72 microseasons, and I use the word seki and ko. So it's 24 seasons, 72 microseasons. So a season is 3 of these 5-day increments, so 15-day seasons and microseasons. So as I was reading them through them, I was saying time of. Those were the seasons, the seki, and then the microseasons were the ko. And that's explained in the essay in the book. And I don't have time here, but each of those seki then gets a very detailed paragraph description in the book, which I think turned out really beautiful. I had to pick 2 images to illustrate the microseason, but they do get paragraph descriptions that are giving you more detail about not just what the plants or the birds are doing, but what everything's doing in those seasons. So the section in the book has a lot more detail. So when you get the book and you look through it, don't think, oh, I've already heard this. No, it's more fully and beautifully described in the book.
Thank you so much. Let's give talk. Mary Jo will be out signing books. The book is available. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. So if you don't have it, please grab it and get it signed. But thank you all for coming. It's rainy outside, but the garden is beautiful to see in the rain. We look at things differently when the rain is coming down. So I encourage you all to go out. First get the book, get it signed, and then go for a walk.
Put it in a plastic bag, yeah.